are going to lose weight when every night I'm seeing you, iftari time, you have 3-4 shawarma in your hand. You're eating 17 pakore. You're eating 5 samosa. How you're going to lose weight?
Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak. To those listening to this podcast, as well as many Muslims across the world, may this be a peaceful and holy month. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us through the challenges we face in life, listening and personifying all your du'as towards the path to become better Muslims. The following conversation is a special Ramadan episode with Mr. Suhail Anwar. He is a laparoscopic colorectal surgeon with a special interest in abdominal wall reconstructive surgery. He has gained an impressive following with his Mind and Body channel, giving advice on diet, nutrition, and how to make the most of the month of Ramadan in losing weight. All links to their social media will be in the description below. To support our channel, please like and subscribe, and check out our sponsors in the description. And now, this is us getting a second opinion from Mr. Suhail Anwar. Hello, Mr. Suhail. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
It's very nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting us to your lovely house.
Thank you.
I want to say Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak to you.
How's
as well.
Ramadan going for you so far? I
Doing
think
very
it's day
well.
2 right
so
now.
So far, so good. Only day 2, but so far, so
I
good.
think when we wait for like a week 2 or week 3, then it will start getting a bit tiring and exhausting, but it's a very special month. I heard you recently went on a trip to Karachi. How was that?
Karachi trip was fantastic. It's always great to go back home. I went on an educational conference.
Yeah.
So I was a keynote speaker in one of the educational conferences, and it was a golden opportunity to see my siblings and some old friends and visit a few people. So it's always great to go back home.
You were talking about colorectal surgery, or?
Well, I was free to choose my own topic.
Right.
The topic I chose was my journey in the National Health Service in the UK.
Okay.
So my 35 years as a doctor in the UK, and what I've learned and how that can benefit people back home, and how we can benefit from their experience and vice versa.
Oh, that's what you spoke about.
Correct, yeah.
Was that at the CPC? Is that right, or?
We had a separate event.
Right.
We called it the social networking event.
Right.
We invited many doctors. We invited the College of Physicians and Surgeons faculty as well, who were kind enough to attend it.
Right.
We had a contingent of doctors that went from the UK, so they attended it, and there was spouses were invited as well. So there was a fair amount of lay public, and hence my choice of topic. I did not want to labor too much into a sort of a medical topic.
Yeah.
So I chose a topic that would be close to everybody's heart, a journal topic about human interaction, about respect, empathy, empowerment, governance, things that everybody can relate to. That's why I chose that topic.
And I think that's not talked about too much, even in the UK. I'm sure maybe the same in Pakistan, that it is just for doctors, surgeons, doing exams, completing exams, clinical assessment of a patient as well, seeing signs and symptoms and treatment from there, but those softer things as well. It comes across in your YouTube videos that I know you have a colorectal channel as well. And when I met you as well at the Shahid Afridi Foundation, you seem like a very kind and caring person, and actually you have a passion for education.
Thank you, very
and
kind
teaching people and stuff. So that's good to hear. That's very good to hear.
Thank you.
I know today we're going to be talking about obesity, losing weight, lifestyle. I mean, I'm going to share a personal thing, and Amna's here is going to laugh. So I've started going to the gym myself. So I've always been a sporty person, playing football,
Good on you.
cricket and stuff. But then I've just started the gym. I finished my MSRA, and I think it's been about a month now, to be honest. I was very achy when I went, like after the first or second time. And for me, it was like completely new exercises. I'm used to running, bowling and batting and getting hit by a hard ball. But going with the personal trainer, him pushing me to do certain exercises, like specific leg exercises, chest exercises. But now I've got past that.
They make you work.
Stage.
They make you work. I think they would take you to the max.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a personal trainer and when you're working out on your own.
Yeah.
When you're working out on your own, after a certain time, after a certain degree of effort,
Yeah.
you seem to back off a little bit.
Yes.
But that's where the personal trainer comes in.
Yeah.
They will make you do the same exercise, but they will take you to your max.
They do.
And that's when the muscle actually grows.
And when I've been with him, he's been sending me documents about diets and exercise and switching up your exercise. And I realized actually this is a really big field at the end of the day. And even, let's say, me, who is a doctor, maybe has more knowledge than an average person and sporty, there's still more things to be learned. And that's what I wanted to have a chat about today.
Absolutely.
So let's start with obesity. What is the definition of obesity? It's a thrown around word, even by clinicians. How would you define it?
Yeah. So obesity is often an interchangeable word with someone who's overweight, someone who's big, to use a more crude word, someone who's fat. But the scientific definition of obesity is mostly determined by what is called the body mass index,
Yeah.
BMI.
Yeah.
So we measure that by looking at someone's height and their weight. So we calculate a BMI by their height and weight. If you are a BMI less than 25, that's regarded as a healthy BMI. If you are a BMI between 25 and 30,
Yeah.
then that's regarded as overweight. If you are a BMI above 30, then that's obesity. So generally, to answer your question, a BMI above 30 is regarded as obesity. If your BMI is above 40, which is obviously a very big number, then you're considered as what we call morbidly obese.
And that's based on your weight versus your height.
Height, yeah.
And it's the calculation that's made.
Correct, a simple formula, yeah.
Fine. And I guess, why is it important to actually define what is obesity and who is obese and not? Why is that actually an important thing to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it has health implications. So that's the bottom line. People who are obese are carrying extra fat in their body, extra weight in their body, and that has implications on their long-term and short-term health. To answer it simply, we have now got a umbrella diagnosis of what we call metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome are conditions like heart problems, ischemic heart disease, coronary heart disease, strokes, diabetes, and all these conditions which are linked to obesity. Other conditions such as erectile dysfunction, they're all part and parcel of metabolic syndrome. I mean, there are many other causes of erectile dysfunction as well, but when it's related to the blood supply, they become a part of metabolic syndrome. As you can well imagine, metabolic syndrome has detrimental health effects in the short term and the long term. It costs a lot to the taxpayer, it costs a lot to the society, it costs a lot to the National Health Service, and it's important that we have definitions of when it is after a certain weight that your health, it will start affecting your health, and then you will go to the doctor, and obviously resources would be required to treat you. So there are two ways of looking at it. You can do what is called a secondary prevention, what we do in the current medical system. We treat people when they get unwell. So when they are obese and they have health implications such as they develop metabolic syndrome, we then treat them. But a better model would be to prevent it and educate them enough so that they can avoid getting overweight or obese, and they can avoid future problems.
I think a common thing that I've heard people say, maybe even I fall into as well, is, when someone has a high BMI or they're classed as obese, but then they say, I've got muscle on me or strong bones or something at the end of the day. Is BMI a great calculation for obesity? And let's say the people who say, it's probably muscle that I've gained, that's why I'm classed as obese. Is that actually correct for people, or do you think maybe a lot of people are saying that when actually they're not facing the reality that they probably are obese?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. So you can see a bodybuilder competitive bodybuilder that has, and you know, you don't need any sophisticated tests. You can eyeball them, and then you will see them that they are mainly, all the body mass structure is composed of muscles, and they have got a big muscle mass. So BMI in those people, yes, would be effective, but sometimes it can mislead you as well. A good test, when you are faced with a patient cohort like this, a good test would be do something like a simple visceral fat measurement. So it can range from taking something like a manual calipers and just checking, because in those clips, because in men the obesity is normally around their belly, so what we call the love handles. You can measure it there, or you can do a sophisticated scanner, the DEXA scan, and the DEXA scan can measure the actual quantity of fat. Or a lot of gyms these days have those weighing machines where they have transducers attached to the machine. You can hold the transducers and it can send a very mild electrical signal in your body, and it can measure the fat. And I've seen that in many gyms as well. So technology is amazing. So when faced with a dilemma like that, a simple thing to do is to measure the body fat percentage, and you will easily see that people who are bodybuilder, who are competitive bodybuilder, have got very small amount of body fat, 7%, 10%, sometimes 5%, virtually got no body fat at all.
But so you're saying actually only a small number of people, they can probably make that argument?
I think so.
But actually, in reality, a lot of people may say that, well, they're not athletes at the end of the day. Even technically, let's say myself, going gym 3 days a week, I'm still not an athlete. I'm only going for an hour. Athletes are people who regularly go full-time job and with diets and extra other things as well. Fine, I got you. I also feel even clinicians, and a lot of people, we've got this misconstructed view of what is a slim person. I actually have it often that some people may come to me and say that I'm slim, but I'm like, actually, I probably know that I'm not if you did my BMI calculations. And I think now with time, because you have a growing prevalence of obesity, people are not understanding what a slim person actually look like, because we probably don't have too many slim people in society. So do you think that also is impacting people's image of what is slim or not, because we're all generally getting a bit bigger?
Absolutely.
Fine.
And that is how norms are calculated. I'll give you a good example. One of the liver function tests, I think it's the ALT, used to have a normal range, which has now, the norm has been expanded, because more and more people are suffering from liver disease now because of fatty liver, again from obesity. So because the majority of the population cohort falls in the fatty liver cohort, they have to increase the normal limit of the blood test range when you check the ALT. So that's how standardized norms are calculated. The standard bell-shaped curve, that's how they calculate it. And same for blood pressure. The blood pressure readings have changed because of the people's lifestyles. More people are now in the higher range, so they have to calculate it.
How have they changed for blood pressure?
Yeah, they have changed for blood pressure. I don't remember the exact values, but previously it was, if it was 80 to 120, it's changed now, because most people are falling out of that range, and most people now are falling in the range, I think, 80 or 140 or something like that.
But is that good that, let's say, for the ALT, the liver levels, enzyme levels, are we underdiagnosing people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And let's say with blood pressure, if we're increasing the values, are we not diagnosing enough people with hypertension? I guess, is it a clinical reason why we're doing it? Because surely if people are falling in those categories, we should treat them, or people should know that they have a problem with their health? Or is it actually, I don't know, Why are we doing that then?
I think that's how the values are calculated. When you
Fine.
calculate a range, let's
Yeah.
say from 20 to 70,
Yeah.
that's your standardized bell curve.
Yeah.
That's the range under which most of the population will fall. And if the population, most of the population is actually in those values, then those values will comprise the boundaries of your test results. So that's just the way these tests are devised. So that's why it's important for some tests, for example HbA1c, the test that we do to monitor the blood sugar. Even the normal values of HbA1c, some people would say you need to be on the lower side of the normal, right? Not the higher side of the normal.
Yes.
Same with lipid markers, triglycerides, for example. So, if you speak to most of the cardiologists or nutritionists, they would say you need to be on the lower side. So even if you are on the higher side of the normal, there's still, the pedantic amongst them will still consider that as an abnormal.
Wow.
So to be on the safe side, you need to be on the lower side of the normal for most of these tests.
Interesting. I've seen it, like I'm now working in A&E as a junior doctor, but when I've worked on wards, an increased level of diagnosis of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and even then those patients developing liver-related complications, which I guess you would not have seen before 10-20 years ago. Like, you would need a very high fat diet to cause NAFLD, which I found very interesting. That maybe at med school I wasn't really taught. I think that was a small thing that I was taught about NAFLD, but now you see it so often, and you see patients getting admitted for it, or often going to outpatient clinics about what treatments there are. It's just interesting to see that phenomena at the end of the day.
And I see that quite often in my clinic. So I'll get my classical referral, because I'm a surgeon, for gallstones would be, dear Mr. Anwar, can you see this patient who's got gallstones, and can you remove their gallbladder if required? And when I actually look at the ultrasound, majority of the time there would be a finding of fatty liver, which the GP has not even communicated to the patient. That's how common fatty livers are. If every second patient going to the GP has got fatty liver, they've stopped actually even telling the patient. And I tell the patient, look, you got a fatty liver. I said, did you know that? Well, no, we don't know that. And I said, look, fatty liver could be more serious, if not as serious as your gallstones, because of long-term implications. So that is a good example of what I was saying before. When you get used to or you get too comfortable with living in a society where you only treat the consequences of a pathology, as in when patients get unwell, then this is what normally happens. So we need to emphasize more on preventive medicine, rather than treating patients when they actually get ill.
So I'm going to ask a very open question. For preventative medicine then, why are we seeing obesity growing? A lot of people say environmental factors, maybe it's medications and polypharmacy. I'll start broad and then we'll go in. Why would you say obesity is growing these days?
I think it's the multiple factors, a myriad of factors. I think a big change, humans have had a big change in their diet and lifestyle to start off with. About 10,000 years ago, not very long ago, in the Homo sapien span, just about 10,000, 12,000 years ago, we used to be hunter-gatherers. So we used to live in small groups of people, 20, 30, 40, 50 maybe, and we used to move around a lot. So we will stop, we will hunt, we will eat meat, and we'll have vegetable and fruits, whatever is available. We'll store them if we can, and then we'll move on. Okay, that was basically to hunt for food and to take shelter from climate. That was our lifestyle. Now, when the agriculture revolution came along, for example, in Mesopotamia or around Egypt, wherever there was water, River Nile or the Tigris River, humans started settling there, and they discovered farming. Okay, and we started farming, and we started growing crops and grain and rice and maize and all kind of grain. And that is when we started storing them, because we came across methods where we can store grain that will last longer and we can reuse them. Rather than moving from place to place and finding our food, we realize we don't have to move and expose ourselves to dangers in terms of other animals and climate. We can stay at one place, protect ourselves, shelter ourselves if we can store food. So the first type of food that we would store was crops and grain. And these are the carbohydrates, essentially carbohydrates. So our diet pattern shifted from animal food, mostly from animal food, to carbohydrates because they were easy to store and they were cheap.
Okay.
So when the carbohydrates were introduced in our diets, as the time went along, our small societies become large populations, cities, countries. Then the industrial revolution came in. We started making these things in factories, producing them in vast quantities to sell them, to store them. Then we realize if we take the husk of, for example, the rice, we can sell it better, it tastes better, it is more palatable, we can cook it quickly.
Wow.
So that was the introduction of refined carbohydrates.
Wow.
And same thing happened with other type of grain as well. And then we introduced rotis and chapatis and pitas and white bread and pastas and croissants and bagels, all forms of refined carbohydrate. They taste delicious. They're not difficult to chew. You don't need much fire to cook them. Our ancestors, chimpanzees and bonobos, they spend about 12 to 16 hours chewing their food every day. As we progress, we didn't have that much time because we started doing other things. We started educating ourselves, we set up university, we have houses. So we don't have that much time to just sit and chew all day long.
Yes.
So we have to have food, we have to have mechanisms of cooking that can make our food more palatable. So that's when this revolution started. Obviously, then come the side effects. We started noticing that refined carbohydrates cause obesity because the body doesn't have enough mechanism to store them.
That's fascinating. I've not known that evolution of carbohydrates, why we started having it, and then from there going to refined carbohydrates. And I feel now these days, if you go to any shop, so now I'm trying to have like less processed food. It's very hard to find non-processed food. If you go to any coffee shop or restaurant and stuff, it is all processed. And as you're saying, all these carbohydrates are full in sugar and unnatural sweetness and stuff that add to building salt in your diet and stuff. That's fascinating. Okay. We're two Pakistanis here, and I know you got a Pakistani audience. There's an increase in cardiovascular disease and diabetes in Pakistani and minority communities. So why in particular for that? Is it diet? And also, does obesity have a correlation with genetics as well? Because, there's the image that in Pakistani or Asian communities, they've got more lower belly fats. Is that a genetic thing? Is that a diet thing? If you were to completely resolve your diet, can you expand on that, if that's all right?
I think it's a bit of both again.
It's a bit of both? Okay.
Majority, it's the diet, and there is a role of genetics as well.
Okay.
I recently came across some data which showed that in Asian population, especially in men, the cells that store the lipid,
is it adipocytes?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The adipose cells, they expand more when the fat is deposited into them as opposed to their Caucasian counterparts.
Yes.
So there is differences in the adipose cells between the Caucasian and the Asian population. Of course, there are other differences as well. You mentioned two things, diabetes and ischemic heart disease. Now, very prevalent in our societies, but I'm sure you know that ischemic heart disease is the number one killer in Caucasian, in Western Hemisphere as well.
Yes, it is.
So it's very rampant here as well.
Yes.
Diabetes is quite rampant here as well. Possibly, I've personally not come across any studies that will compare the incidence of diabetes in Asian versus Caucasian patients. I'm sure there are many studies like that. I've not come across.
Yeah.
But there is definitely genetic basis of the cells in Asian people that expand more, and obviously diabetes seems to be a bit higher in our neck of wood. Yeah.
So one question is, if let's say you've had a generation of obese parents, grandparents, will that be passed down to lower generations? Like, does obesity cause genetic problems that are then inherited by their children?
Yes, yeah, very, very good question. I think one of the issues that often go unnoticed in our societies is the intermarriages, cousin marriages as we call them. Very common in our society, and I've got a full video on cousin marriages, and I've explained all the genetic basis and of how a brother and sister are related to each other, and how first cousins are related, how second cousins are related.
Okay.
And there's definitely a genetic overlap. And if there is a deficiency in chromosome of one cousin, and it's get compounded by the other cousin, then the child is definitely have to inherit that disease, and there's good data to support that.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to obesity, I'm not entirely sure whether obesity is transmitted in a similar fashion. I'm not aware of any such data, but yes, definitely in our neck of woods, because of intermarriages, there are many diseases that are inherited.
Right.
Both diabetes and ischemic heart disease are part and parcel of metabolic syndrome, as I mentioned to you before. And for me, there's not much you can do about if you have inherited a genetic disease, but you can do a lot about your diet, lifestyle, exercise. So even if there is a genetic element of inheriting these diseases, one can do a lot to lead a good, healthy, active life.
Okay, fine. So that was kind of the root of my question. In, let's say, Pakistani communities, it's not inevitable that if you're from a family who maybe have wider hips or known to be obese, that actually, if you made the changes, is it harder for someone from an Asian background to become slim than maybe someone from a Caucasian background or non-Asian background? Based on genetics, I understand environmental factors is tough with work and finding time, but if you make the corrections, are you working a little bit harder maybe as an Asian person?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Fine. Okay.
In my opinion, in my knowledge, as far as I know, the genetic component is not of such severe intensity that even if you're making good changes in your diet, it will stop you getting slimmer, as you call it, or fitter, as you call it.
I got you. Okay, fine. So if we go to more advice then for losing weight and understanding it. So let's talk about diet then. So what is a balanced diet? Because we all have seen the plate chart where it's like 50% veg and is it like close to 50% protein and then just a little bit of carbs and a low fat diet, and what is dieting as well? Like in general, what is actually a balanced plate? How do you actually achieve such a balanced plate with all the meals that you have?
Sure. I think one thing I would say, data about diet and nutrition keep changing. Yes. One day they'll tell you egg yolk is good. The next day they'll tell you it's not so good. One day they'll tell you eat saturated fat. The next day they'll say saturated fat is bad. So studies come along. People look at them. As a doctor yourself, one of my bosses used to say, if you torture the data enough, it will confess to anything.
Yes.
So if a study comes along and you start looking at the data from here and there, you can always pick flaws in it.
Yes.
So I've always adapted a path of moderation, and not adopting extremes, because I've been in the game long enough to see how things change, in an extreme fashion. So it'd be good to adopt a well-tested, well-trialed path of moderation.
Fine.
That would be my first advice. My second advice would be I don't consider weight loss, I don't like the word dieting. I like the word healthy living. By dieting, most people would understand, and what they want to do is to shed lots of weight, quickly fit into a certain dress for wedding or for whatever, to look good, to actually be in compliance with all their ideals on Instagram and TikTok these days. People, all these
stylized life.
Exactly. People that young people follow. I think healthy living should be a part and parcel of your life, just like breathing is, just like teaching is, just like studying is. It should become a part of your life. And I think that's the main thing. The biggest barrier in my mind is a psychological barrier. If you're trying to lose weight fast, it's not going to work. You need to convince yourself, tell yourself, propose to yourself that this is what healthy dieting is, and this is my life. If I'm getting, just like I say to myself, I need at least 8 hours of sleep. Most people know that 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night is good. Exactly in the same fashion, you should tell yourself, refined carbohydrates are bad for me. They're generally bad. They're not a part of my lifestyle anymore. I need to exercise. That is a part of I need to dedicate time to exercise. That is a part of my lifestyle. So psychologically, you need to be at a place where you would know that, this is your lifestyle. It's not dieting, it's healthy lifestyle. So that's the first thing, that's the first barrier people need to go through if you want to go on that path.
I feel these days it is more challenging to, if we talk about diets, to have a healthy, balanced diet lifestyle, because there is just so much refined sugars out there. A lot of the foods out there are processed. And I think it's probably integrated in a lot of people's lives. It used to be, I'll only have something special when I have a takeaway. Yeah. And a takeaway would be, let's say, every couple of weeks, every month on a special occasion, graduation party, birthday, whatever. But then now, when you go out with let's say you went out shopping to the shopping center with your wife, you're going to go for coffee. There are only refined options at Costa Coffee or Greg's or Starbucks. If you go to a restaurant, there are only refined sugars and unnatural sweetness and stuff. Is it more challenging to, even when you buy groceries as well, like most of the pastas and stuff, they're all white sugar based. So is it more challenging now these days?
Absolutely.
To do that?
Absolutely.
Even if someone wanted to make that call.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And the reason for that is, there are several reasons, but one of the biggest reason is we live in a society where we are monitored all the time. Our likes, our dislikes are measured. They are quantified. They are sold to people who then sell us things to make money from us. So that's the society we are living in. Facebook, WhatsApp, Google, they are monitoring our likes and dislikes all the time. And they influence us in ways that we can't even conceive, by advertisement, by TV, by discussions, by putting big posh shops. So all these factors hugely influence us. We seem to feel that we are free to do what we want, but I would challenge that notion that how free we are and how free our choices are, and not influenced by what we see and what we don't. And you've given a very good example of a Costa. It's fashionable to go and sit in a Costa coffee. It's been made into a brand where if you're sitting in a Costa holding a Costa cup, you're deemed as a bit sort of posh, a bit nice and sophisticated, a bit nice as compared to just sitting in any other local tea shop.
Yes.
And when you go into a place like Costa, the reason they would have refined stuff, refined croissants and cake, because they're easy to manage. They have got a longer shelf life. All refined carbohydrates, the way they are prepared, the way we add emulsifiers in them, the way we add preservatives in them, it makes their shelf life longer. So that's how they make these things, because they're cheap to make and they make a lot of profit out of it from us. And this is a very important point for us to understand how the industry manipulates us. And obviously all industry, we are just focusing on food industry today. but that's how the industry manipulates us. I mean, everybody knows that brown rice with the husk on it is better for us, but how many of us use brown rice? Most of us eat white rice because they taste well, they taste good.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. We are mainly an industry-driven society, and the industry don't just manipulate us. They have their roots very deep into the politicians, into the senators, into the medical industry, into the pharmaceutical industry. They fund huge projects, the industry. So they have a big say. When policies come out from the Association of Diabetes in the UK or Association of Cardiologists in the US, the industry, the food industry has a massive say in it.
Wow.
And that's how they have got a lot of control onto what we eat and what we don't eat.
That I'm saying that even these days, it's actually very hard to find someone or any person who is doing all those right things, who, as you said, has a mindset that it's not me having a refined sugar, that's a treat, but rather this is actually what a normal healthy lifestyle is. So let's say there'll be younger people listening today. If you're at home and you want to tell your whole family that I would like to switch to this diet of non-refined diets, how do you go about you living that lifestyle as an individual when maybe the other people around you are not needing or wanting that lifestyle yet? How do you go about getting that self-motivation to make that significant change in your life? It's very hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say it in my videos, if you really want to lose weight, you have to change the whole pantry of your kitchen, you know. The rest of the family members have to join in. Because if you got chocolates and cakes and biscuits in one of the drawers in your kitchen, it's so tempting. It's so easy to just go there, open the drawer and grab one of those sweet things or refined carbohydrates. So it's hard. I think the whole family has to be on it. The whole family has to understand the actual health benefits and the longevity. You avoid hypertension, diabetes, strokes, claudication, renal problems, sexual problems. You avoid all those problems by maintaining a good, healthy lifestyle, which mainly is diet and nutrition and exercise. So to start off with, the whole family has to be on it. You know, the whole family has to be in it rather. The next thing is obviously education. You need to educate yourself. You need to read. You need to listen to videos. You need to read books about diet and nutrition. What is good, what is not good. Like I said, sometimes the data is conflicting, but there is data, long-standing data, which is conclusive as well. For example, you know, majority of the studies, most people would now agree that vegetables are very good for you. Vegetables that are grown in an organic manner are very good for you. They have got fiber, they've got lots of nutrients in them, they have got less calories, you know, so generally they are good for you. Similarly, amount of protein, a decent amount of protein, mainly 1 gram per kilogram, is good for you if it's coming from a good source of protein. Generally, saturated fats are bad for you, although the data is conflicting. If you have, my advice to people with saturated fat is, by saturated fat I mean meat from any animal sources, is if you've got a history of cardiovascular disease, either yourself or your family, try to avoid saturated fat and stick with polyunsaturated fat such as fish and such like. And chicken breast mainly. But saturated fat has got lots of benefits, and if you don't have a history of cardiovascular disease, saturated fat, a steak every other day is absolutely beneficial to your health.
I got you. If you are living in a Pakistani household and your mom likes making salans and rotis and jawas and biryanis and stuff, then what are generally healthy options that maybe you could go to your Amiji about to say, this would be good for us to have? Like, because I feel that's also challenging, speaking to your elders to say, I want to change my diet. What are good options then?
It's difficult. It's difficult. I think the first thing is roti and rice, chawal are a staple diet. Okay, So every meal in most Pakistani household
Yeah.
will have rice.
That's the carb.
That's exactly,
Yeah.
and roti and salan.
Yeah.
Now we have already discussed the problem with carbs. Both roti and chawal are refined carbs. They're not just carbs; they are refined carbs. If they are if they are white rice and white roti, so they are refined carbs, and they are got a very high glycemic index. The moment you eat a couple of rotis, a couple of naans, chapatis, or you have a plate full of rice, your insulin will go up. Okay, so the basic problem with refined carbohydrate, then we have not discussed this, so I'll just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Is the phenomenon of insulin resistance. So every time you eat carbs, your insulin spikes so that it can send the blood sugar into your cells, because carbs increase the amount of blood sugar in your blood. So the insulin increase, it send the sugar into your cells. Then after 2 hours you eat a samosa and you get another insulin spike. Then 3 hours after that you eat a biscuit and then you have another insulin spikes. And 4 hours after that you eat a naan, and these daily insulin spikes, the cells then get fed up. They just give up, and that's what's called the insulin resistance. There's so much insulin floating around in your blood all day long because you keep eating refined carbs, not just roti chawal, chocolates, cakes, biscuits, everything with sugar on them, or sugar in the tea and coffee. The cells get resistant to insulin. It's called insulin resistance. So the insulin cannot transport sugar into the cells. The sugar goes up in your blood, causing diseases such as diabetes, and insulin inhibits lipolysis. So the process of lipolysis, which means breakdown of fat by your body hormones,
Yes.
insulin inhibits it.
All right.
So if you have a persistently raised insulin in your body most day long, then your body will not have a chance to break down your fat cells. So that's why, and we'll come to this later on, I'm sure you'll ask me the question, if you're doing fasting or intermittent fasting, you have a prolonged period of time where insulin is low. Nothing is going through your mouth. Insulin, and don't take me wrong, you get insulin spikes with fat and proteins as well, but not as much as with refined carbohydrate or carbohydrate.
Sure.
So when you're not eating anything, insulin is low, your body get a chance to now dig in to your fat cells. The body will use the glycogen in the liver and the muscles first to produce sugar, and there's only a small amount of it. I think after 6 hours maybe, or 8 hours, the glycogen is depleted in the liver, and then the body need energy from something else. And that something else is fat.
Fat breakdown.
But before we get to that stage, we eat something else. So basically, it just insulin keeps high, lipolysis is prevented, and we get the insulin resistance.
Okay. So in Desi Pakistani households, what are alternatives then for diet? We'll go to Ramadan, but just to finish this, what are alternatives then for having a healthy, balanced diet? What are healthy options for us?
So I think first thing we need to do is to restrict the amount of carbohydrates, stroke refined carbohydrate.
Okay.
So if someone is concerned about their health, they want to look after themselves, refined carbohydrates have to go. Cake, pastries, chocolates, bakar khanis,
The gifts that I gave you today, you can't eat that basically. That's what you're
I
saying.
probably will after. But most of them have to go.
Yeah.
Obviously you can have it as a one-off, but daily has to go.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the first thing. After the refined carbohydrates are gone, the second option would be to look at your carbohydrate intake. Most of our carbohydrate intake is from roti chawal. Okay, people who cannot give up on roti chawal, a good option would be to go to brown roti.
You get brown rotis.
chawal. You can get multi-grain atta, and you can get brown rice, or quinoa is even better. Quinoa is available in supermarkets. Quinoa is also a grain with a very low glycemic index. So I have quinoa at home. I eat quinoa. I try not to eat rice. I've not eaten rice for a long time. And then you can get multigrain bread as well. It's now with bread, even if it's brown bread or multigrain bread, it still gives you insulin spike, but it has some fiber in it as well. So it slows down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream because of the fiber content.
Okay.
So even if there is a spike, it's over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So first thing is to consider those things. And then when you come to your main salan, as you call it, The problem with that is mainly cooked in oil. Most of the oil that we use is sunflower oil, canola oil, safflower oil, and these kind of oils that the Pakistani community or the Indian community use. These oils are very pro-inflammatory. So they go into your blood vessels and they trigger inflammation in the blood vessels. And that can give rise to atherosclerosis and metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and strokes and things like that. So we have to change oil. A good oil could be olive oil, extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
The problem with these olive oils are they are not suitable for our traditional desi cooking.
Yes.
So we put our salan, when we make our salan, we put tons of oil and we cook them to hell. So all the goodness seeps out from these vegetables that we are cooking, and we put lots of spices on it, and some of them are good. Turmeric is very good. We use turmeric and some other spices. If you use good quality salt, that's very good for your body.
Yes.
But the problem is cooking and frying them in oil. That's the problem.
Okay.
So if you start using extra virgin olive oil, a good incentive is you can't keep cooking them for a long time. So you then are forced to change your cooking pattern. Either shallow fry them, or the best is to you can air fry them, you can grill them, you can boil them. Any technique which will stop you using oil is good. If you have to use oil, just stir fry them in a shallow pan with a low amount of extra virgin olive oil. So that could be one get out of jail card. One thing that is very helpful is to eat vegetables before your main meal. So salad should be a part of every Pakistani household. Now you would have noticed when you go to a Pakistani dawat, the smallest thing on the table is a salad.
And it's not touched.
It's not touched. So nobody touches it.
Yeah.
But if you eat salad before your main meal, and I mean by salad, cucumbers, radishes, salad leaves, any salad, you eat it, you fill in part of your stomach with that, and then you go to your main meal. It's a very good habit. It's a very good habit to just suppress some of your appetite with salad and then go to your main meal. Maybe have half a roti, one roti, maybe have a few spoonfuls of chawal, and then your main salan. If you can avoid cooking your salan in oil, especially the oils that are mentioned that are very detrimental to your health, the sunflower and the safflower and the canola, all the much better. And you can grill your meat, you can air fry your meat, you can boil it or whatever. And same for vegetables. You can't eat all vegetables in your salad, so you have to cook some vegetables.
Yes.
But then cook them in a shallow pan with only a little bit of extra virgin olive oil.
I think I should hire you as my personal trainer because I only met him a month ago. He sent me a document, a PDF, 6-7 pages, is exactly what you're saying.
Oh, thank you.
Which is not having a processed foods in your diet and making those small changes. And when I thought I was going to meet him, and even my own thought when I was going to meet him, we thought he would say, you can't have your desi foods and salans and rotis and stuff. But then he gave options, and as you're saying, now I have brown roti because I really like roti. I do love naan, but I've cut that out unfortunately. I have my brown rotis at the end of the day, and even salans. Yes, we're using extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil as well and stuff. And my mum also says put veg on the plate first, then put your meat, because what ends up you do, you fill up your plate with your meat, your jawal, and then like whatever little space there, you just make it a little bit green. Putting veg there first. But it is a change for lots of people. I think even people know about the insulin spike, or let's say the sugar spike is what you feel. But then when you switch to that diet, you don't get that sugar rush. And sometimes you almost need the sugar rush because you're used to it, and that maintains energy levels. So then when you switch to this non-refined diet, you almost don't have a sugar rush. You probably have enough calories and stuff to eat throughout the day, and you're getting your nutritional benefits, but you probably end up feeling more tired because there isn't a sugar rush.
Exactly.
So that's an adjustment for
to
people.
And the problem with the sugar rush is when you have the sugar rush, insulin spikes and then drops down very quickly.
Yes.
So you feel hungry again. You want to, you want to munch on something within a couple of hours.
Yes.
And that calories keep piling in.
Yeah.
One of the tips for losing weight or a healthy lifestyle is to avoid eating in between meals. That's a big problem. People keep munching on things
Snacking.
in between meals, snacking. And one of the reason people snack is because of sugar rush. If you eat diet with sugar, your insulin goes up but drops down very rapidly, and so does your sugar.
And you're avoiding the lipolysis, the breakdown of
That's
fat, that
correct.
opportunity.
Correct. And then you attempt to go and eat something else to maintain your body sugar. However, if you eat things that cause satiety, protein causes more satiety than carbohydrates. So if you have a good meal with good amount of 200 gram of protein in a meal, or 150 gram of protein in a meal, it would be very filling if you eat it with carbohydrates. And then your body get used to it. I think a lot of the problem, I've come across a lot of people who send me questions on my YouTube channel is that if I don't eat carb, or if I don't eat enough, I feel tired, mujhe chakkar aate hain, I feel dizzy, I feel weak. A lot of that is psychological.
Okay.
Because we get told to eat all the time. And a lot of it is psychological.
So let's talk about Ramadan. It's
Sure.
Ramadan now. You will have, I say to myself, and everyone says to themselves, during Ramadan, I will now start to lose weight.
Right.
Because I've dieted, I've not eaten for 12 to 18 hours now.
Yeah.
And I only have 1 or 2 meals. But a lot of people don't end up losing weight. So what is your... Let's talk about... We have talked about fasting, to be honest. You said during that time, you do not get the insulin surges or the glucose surges. So then, why are people not losing weight during Ramadan?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a very good question, and this is possibly one of the most commonly asked questions on my channel as well.
Yeah.
Why am I piling up weight?
Yeah,
And it's actually linked to what we discussed before, is the binge eating, the concept of binge eating. So if you have obviously people are under the impression that they have to make up their calories. Calories that they're not going to be eating for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
They have to make up for their calories. So they then start eating a lot during the sehri, and then they eat a lot during the iftari.
Okay.
And between the iftari and the next sehri, they keep munching, and that's a problem. That's one problem, that they don't lose weight. Second problem is what we traditionally eat. So people normally, use dates to open their in the iftari. And 1 or 2 dates are fine, but you're eating a lots of dates, then it's got a lot of sugar.
Okay.
Then we have a tradition where we have iftari, and then namaz, and then our dinner. That's a tradition followed in most households, not everyone, but so in the iftari, it's mainly snacks. So there's samosas, pakoras, there is chaats, there's mithai, there's sugary stuff. So all refined carbohydrates or all deep fried carbohydrates are part of our iftari. So you've already piled up 1,000 calories when you do iftari.
Yes.
And then after iftari, you go into a main meal, which is also lots of rotis, rice, salan. So we tend to eat more than what our body requires, because that's what we used to. And we tend to eat the wrong stuff during Ramadan. And that's the problem why people put weight on.
Yeah.
Now, there is a concept called OMAD, 1 meal a day. And it's a very potent, very powerful technique of losing weight. And if you think about it, Ramadan is actually, you can use the OMAD concept, 1 meal a day during the 30 days of Ramadan. So in your iftar, in your sehri, if you just stick to no carbs, you have water as much as you want, in iftari, obviously, it will lead to you going to the toilet lots of time, but you can gauge that. You can have lots of water, you can have protein, you can have eggs, you can have peas, you can have
fruit and veg.
Fruit and veg. You can have you can have salad. You can have lentils. All that stuff. Really low carb, but high in protein.
Yeah.
High in fat content in your sehri, and then you go on through your roza. At iftari time, you just have 1 meal. So all you have have a glass of water, coffee, tea, maybe one date
Yeah.
to break your fast.
Yes.
Do not eat anything. Go and do your namaz. Come back and have one meal.
One meal.
And that's absolutely a great way to practice OMAD during Ramzan. Yes, of course, you're having sehri as well, but that's fine. You're not having any fat. You're not having any sugar and carbohydrate in the sehri. You're having just salad and you're having yogurt. Yogurt is very good. You can even have oats. Oats have some carbohydrates, but oat is a good meal for protein as well. You can make a little fruit chart with no sugar in it. Just have peas in it. Just have I don't know. I mean, the thing with fruit is some fruit that are popular in our society, like mangoes, have got a very high glycemic index. So if you want to lose weight, you need to be very careful what fruit you're eating.
Yes.
In a very pedantic way, the only fruit that's got low glycemic index are the berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. That's the only fruit you should have. Bananas have some fruit. Watermelon is good. It's got a lot of water and obviously some sugar in it. So you need to be careful with fruit. If you want to lose weight, be healthy. If you're binging on fruit all the time, then your sugar will spike.
Yes.
But the safest options is vegetables, lentils, peas, all kind of grains, not grains, all kind of lentils and protein, which could be in the form of yogurt or eggs or meat. You can eat meat at sehri. So eat that in reasonable proportion and then go on to your iftari. Just drink water, do namaz and have a good meal. Now, one question I get quite often asked on my channel is, Dr. Saab, we are eating a lot of good stuff, the stuff that you recommend, still not losing weight. Remember, calories are calories. If you eat 1 kilo of really prime organic steak, it still have loads of calories.
Yes.
And you'll put weight on because calories will convert into fat. So even if you're eating good stuff, avocados, eggs, meals, lentils, beans, even if you're eating high nutritious stuff, vegetables, mushrooms, if you eat tons and tons of them, then you will get bigger.
Interesting. I think I've thought that's a very interesting answer, to be honest, that people you saying end up eating more or probably the same amount during Ramadan because they're having 2 meals and they're probably 2 larger meals to meet their calorie intake or their energy levels. Okay, that's
and not only that, the quality of the food that we eat, the snacking that we do between iftari and the next sehri,
that shouldn't be done because of those surges.
Exactly.
And when you have those surges, you're not breaking down fats basically.
Exactly.
Or not allowing that opportunity.
You've had a beautiful opportunity of 10 hours, 12 hours of low insulin, your fat is melting away, and then bang, iftari time, and you just reverse it all by filling yourself in with refined carbohydrates and ruh afza and sweet drinks. I mean, ruh afza is a killer. It's so sweet, it's got so much sugar in it, but so popular. It's a traditional iftari drink. So we use these killer drinks, and then a lot of mithai is being distributed in Ramzan,
exactly,
full of sugar and oil. I mean, mithai is possibly the worst thing because not only it's got sugar, it's fried in oil as well. Just exactly like ice cream. Ice cream is the same. It's heated with fat and it's got sugar in it.
I think it's psychological for me to think about doing that because I wake up for sehri and I'm not having carbs, and then I'm thinking, am I going to survive my day? And if I've got like a decently challenging day or hard work, or let's say me working as a junior doctor, and I'm thinking, have I properly eaten? But you're saying that's psychological to just go through that change of
lots of it is psychological. Remember, fruit and vegetables provide you carbs as well. That's mainly what is there in vegetable and food is primarily carbs. So you're getting your carbs from there. Of course, to get your full ration of carbs, you have to eat a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, but you can make up with fruit as well. I mean, the thing with fruit is, don't take me wrong, I'm not dissing fruit. Some fruit are very high sugar, like mangoes, they are out. But other fruits like apples, pears, bananas, readily available, they give you good amount of carbs, but because they've got fat, just because they got fiber in them, the absorption of the sugar is low. That's the difference.
And you don't get the surge.
So you don't get the spike. So and like I said, you can have a bowl of oats in the morning. You can put some skim milk in it, put some berries on top of oats, put some yogurt on top of oat, have an avocado, cut an avocado, put it on one slice of multigrain bread, put an egg on it. That's very nutritious. If your sari is comprised of, let's say, a multigrain piece of bread, egg on top, avocado on top, a bowl of oats with some berries and yogurt, that's
fine enough. And that sounds decent to have. I think it's more of a cultural change for someone to make that rather than maybe I'll just warm up what I just had for iftar, which is probably the same amount of food of the white sugars and salads and stuff.
Or have parathas, very traditional, to cook parathas in sari.
Which is not great for you because it's immersed in oil and white flour and stuff. I think it's a cultural change. I think people who listen to today will clip it and it sounds great, but it's just making that step. But that's the challenges that you just have to do. So I wanted to move the conversation now to exercise. It's becoming more challenging for people to exercise, to find the time with a full-time job and then in the evenings or weekends and stuff. What is a good amount of exercise recommended for people? Is it actually, and is it required to become slim or to lose weight?
I think in the modern times, quite recently, there's a huge data on exercise that's come along. Exercise has always been a part and parcel of our keeping fit, living healthy, living longer regime. But recently, there's a huge emphasis on exercise. And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is, as time is going by and technology is improving, we are getting more and more lazy. We are spending more time in couches, in our cars, watching TV, scrolling on the telephone, and lots of problems that you see in young and in middle age and old people are from being immobile. And that's why, of all the time that as humans we have lived in, this time is the most important time for exercise. So that's one thing. The second thing is there's good scientific data that's out there now that's linked muscle mass to longevity. Okay? The more muscle mass you have, and I don't mean you being a bodybuilder, I just mean the more muscle mass you have, the more your chances of living longer and living a healthier life. So whereas, and as I've told you before, these things comes in, like roundabouts, and they keep moving from one place to other, but I always go for a moderate path. Previously, there was a time 25-30 years ago, cardiovascular exercise was deemed to be very, very important, and still is. The aerobic activity where you're consuming a lot of oxygen, which means running, swimming, skipping, stairmasters, elliptical trainers, jogging, treadmills, all those kind of exercises where you are working your cardiorespiratory system, your heart and your chest, and you're doing aerobic exercise, you're consuming a lot of oxygen, were very good for training your heart and your chest. But recently, weight training and keeping your muscle mass is equally as important, if not more. So those are the two big areas, and we can go into the details and nuances of all those areas if you want to. But those are the two big areas emphasized these days.
So are we actually becoming lazier, or do you think our lives are becoming busier? There's cost of living issues. Now many households require 2 incomes to support and 2 incomes of full-time. So it is more challenging to maybe exercise. In what way would you say we're lazier then? Is it that actually we're not up for exercise, or we're too tired, or what do you think about that in terms of our mindset of how we see exercise?
I think it's the convenience of life.
Okay.
It's the convenience of life. Everybody wants a quick microwavable meal from the supermarket. You don't want to buy fresh ingredients. You don't have time to cut them. You don't have time to prepare them. You go into the supermarket, you buy a pack of crisps, packed with a barcode on it. I always say any food with a barcode on it is ultra processed food. Don't use it. Okay. You buy it from there, you bring it home, you microwave it, and you eat it. And this is applicable to all other aspects of life. You've got cars, We go right up to our workplace. We park our cars as close to a shopping center as we want because we don't want to walk. That's just a lifestyle. We come home, we've got television, we've got Netflix, we've got YouTube, we've got our phones now. So it's just, what we were talking about before, the industry and the hierarchy up there trying to control us and manipulate us in the way they want us. And then there are other factors. You said the cost of living has gone up, everything is expensive, especially after the COVID. You need two incomes, money is tight. It's not just that the money is tight. You then want a luxurious lifestyle as well. You are bombarded with images of beautiful beaches on the Bahamas and the beautiful mountains in Brazil and Vietnam, and you want to go all those places because the science has made things so accessible and so amenable. You can be sitting in the poorest countries in the world and watching videos of penthouses in Manhattan. So technology has brought us so together and made the globe so small. Things have become accessible to everyone. People watch these things, they want these things, they want to work for them, they want to make money, and that's what they do.
Wow.
So and then holidays. You want fancy cars, you want nice houses, you want good makeup, you want nice clothes. So that's what we live under this pressure day in and day out, and we want to spend our money there rather than invest in our own health. Kudos to you for getting a personal trainer. How many people do that? They rather spend that money on something else.
That's true. That's true.
So it's just a big package. It's not just one thing.
And in terms of exercise then, what exercises do you then recommend for people? How does someone start doing that? How does someone even find the time to do it when they've not been someone who's used to it at the end of the day? What are your recommendations?
So I think it's the same mindset that we talked about diet and nutrition.
Yeah.
You have to cross that psychological barrier where exercise has to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
You have to do it as you breathe and you eat and you sleep. That should be a part of your life. I mean, a good parameter what most people suggest these days is exercise 3 to 4 times a week, an hour. An hour each time. So that's about maybe 4 hours, 5 hours of exercise we can do. If you can do during the week, that's good. But exercise is more than that. Exercise is trying to park your car slightly at a distance from your workplace, so you're forced to walk. Exercise is not just sitting all the time. Exercise is getting up, getting into the habit of stretching in the house, do a few squats here and there, do a few lunges, do a few push-ups here and there, just being active, even when you're not actively exercising in the gym.
Yes.
That also makes a part of exercise. So going to the gym is good. I personally, these days, from the data available, I try to divide my time, maybe 15 to 20 minutes of cardio, where I'm working my heart and my lungs, and about 40 to 45 minutes of weight training. It depends what your goals and motives are. Obviously, I'm talking about a common person, a common man. I'm not talking about an athlete. I'm not talking about a bodybuilder. I'm talking about a common person, a jobbing common person, and that's what they should do. And this is applicable both to men and women, particularly to women, because for somehow women, especially Asian women, doing weight training is seen as as a no-no. Lifting weights is seen as a no-no. And that mindset has to change, because after menopause, the bones get more brittle in women, and it's women who suffer from a fractured neck of femur after a fall. And if you have a fractured neck of femur at the age of 60, 65, 70, your likelihood of coming back to your normal life is virtually minimal. Because by that time, you lost your muscle mass because of your menopause and all the other hormonal changes. You're not eating enough protein. Women are not lifting weight. They're not exercising. So basically, muscle mass has become more and more important. So that's how I divide my personal, my personal sort of activity or exercise in the gym.
I got you. So I've got 2 questions. Let's go for one was a gym question, one was just day to day. So let's say the gym. You talked about weights versus cardiovascular. My understanding before was always for longer term health, cardiovascular is very good for healthy heart, healthy lungs, healthy blood system. But then I'm also learning and seeing your videos, actually weight training is also very good, especially working the larger weight muscles like the legs and glutes, and building muscles is also good for weight loss. Can you explain that to people? Because a lot of people think that actually it's not about muscle building. How does muscle building help with losing weight?
Yeah, sure. So basically, muscle building weight training
Weight training
is almost synonymous with bodybuilding. That's what the mindset is. That's what the new data is trying to change. Muscle building is not bodybuilding. It's not, you don't want to be competing as a bodybuilder. The common use of the word bodybuilders are these big, huge guys. Muscle building is not the same as bodybuilding. Muscle building means that you try to maintain your muscle mass. After the age of 30, we lose our muscle mass 5 to 10%, maybe 5% every year after the age of 30. So by the time we are 70 or late 60s, we have lost a lot of muscle mass, right? To maintain that, you have to do weight training. Now, when you're doing weight training at 70 and you're doing weight training as 25 is not the same. When you're doing weight training at 25, you can build muscle more rapidly than we are doing when you are 70.
Yes.
So when you are reaching 80, it is hard even to lift your grandchild up from the floor into your arms. If you are 80 and you can lift your grandchild up from the floor into your arms, that is good enough. That's a good indicator for building muscle mass. But there are other indicators as well. For example, if you are a man age 40, you should be able to dead hang for 2 minutes. Okay, that's a good indicator that you got enough muscle mass. If you are 60, if you can dead hang for a minute, that's good. That means you got a good overall muscle mass. Similar, there are other indicators like a farmer's carry. Farmer carry means you can carry your body weight. So let's say you're 80 kilogram and you carry 40 kilogram in one hand and 40 kilogram in one hand. And if you can walk for 2 minutes, if you are age 40, it means that you've got a good muscle mass. If you are age 60 and a woman, you should be, and if you're 80 kilogram, you should be able to carry at least 60 kilogram or maybe 50 kilogram. So 25 kilogram in each hand for 2 minutes and walk.
Yes.
So there are indicators. So grip strength, which is what you used in a dead hang and a farmer carry, and your muscles in the legs and the chest and the arms. These are indicators of if you have enough muscle strength that will last you long. So the answer to your question is yes, cardiovascular exercise is good for longevity. What you need to do, remember, in your cardiovascular exercise, you're building what is called a VO2 max. VO2 max means that your capacity to utilize oxygen when you're exercising. The more capacity you have.
We heard the toy earlier.
Yeah, I think it's just coming on its own.
Fine.
Okay, let's wait for it. It's not picking up. That's good. The more capacity you have to utilize the oxygen whilst you're exercising means that the more higher VO2 max you have.
Okay.
VO2 max is a very good indicator of longevity. So if people can get a facility to measure their VO2 max, and I think there are some Apple watches and they've got a software on them that can measure VO2 max. Otherwise you have to have it measured in physiology laboratories.
Okay.
So that's what your cardiovascular exercise contribute. But your weight training, what is called resistance training, contribute toward your muscle mass. When you're 60, 70, you can't build muscle, but you can at least maintain it. If you maintain your muscle to a degree where at the age of 80, your muscle mass is in a reasonable shape, then you've got a good quality of life. Majority of the people in their 70s, 80s, sometimes 60s have problems because of falls. They can't pick up things. They have their ligaments and tendons are wearing off because they're not lifting weight, not maintaining them. So both things are very important, but like I said, recent data suggests that weight, your body muscle mass is directly linked to your longevity.
Wow, that's interesting, and that's something I've actually learned from this gym journey as well. I've always just done cardiovascular, but I've realized weight training is important. I think the other question, especially maybe in Pakistani communities, is day to day being a bit more active. I think you see a lot of dads and also moms as well, when they're 50 plus, asking maybe their kids to do a lot of things for them, or not really moving around much at the end of the day. I think one thing I do enjoy about Ramadan is I'm more disciplined with my namaz, and I do very little flexibility exercise, and then that's full flexibility, going down for sajda, sitting down cross legs. So what's your general advice then? How do you just become a more active person in life? Because I feel a lot of people are not at the end of the day.
I think mindset is the most important. You have to get up off your chair, you have to get up off the couch, you need to, I mean, generally one of the biggest causes of back pain, for example, if you shortened flexor muscles, which happen because we are sitting in our chair and our couches for a long time. The flexor muscles of our legs and hips is shortened and we get back pain. So it's recommended anyway that you should be getting up every hour and doing some stretching exercises to kind of keep your muscles supple. And then, like you said, doing little jobs around the house, going up and down the stairs. There is a general tendency in our culture, especially if someone is elderly, people try to do a lot of stuff for them out of respect. And that might be a good thing, but for that person, it might not be that good in terms of their personal. If you're giving them a hand all the time, making sure they're sitting in the chair all the time, then, I mean, in my own experience, the Asian patients, elderly Asian patients that I see in my clinics are far more infirm than many of the Caucasian patients that I see, because the Caucasian patients are forced to do their own work. The children don't come around every day. More than often, they're living on their own. So I see 80-year-old couples who are still doing their own cooking and cleaning and washing and shopping or whatever. Whereas in our society, it would be disrespect for, not to cook and clean for your elderly parents. So in a way, this dependency that's born out of respect sometimes can be detrimental.
Interesting. I wouldn't have brought you today not just for diet and obesity advice, but actually because I find you an impressive person.
Thank you.
Of yourself. Could you talk to us about your journey from coming to the UK, becoming a colorectal surgeon, and then developing this passion for education and helping people? How did that all start with you then?
Yeah. So I think, like most people, I graduated from Karachi. Then I decided to come over here for my postgraduate training. I was already married when I left Pakistan. Actually, I got married when I was a medical student.
Oh, right.
So I had a fantastic life partner that supported me in all my endeavors. My wife is also very well educated, very well aware of the diet and nutrition problems. So as a family, we are all very much into it. My eldest son, he was into athletics, then boxing. So he was very cognizant of his diet and exercise all the time. We always had a gym. I've been going to the gym since I was 13. Wow. So I've always been a gym goer, and obviously the kids have had encouragement from me. And my youngest son went into karate and taekwondo, and my daughter did all kind of activities as well. So we are a very active family, and part of that I learned from my father as well. He was always into exercise and encouraged us to exercise. When I came over here, I think the underpinning factor for everything that I've done in my life is a desire to excel and improve and reflect. That's always been part of my personality. So I always wanted to become better than what I am today. I want to be better tomorrow. I always want to learn new things. I want to go places. I want to learn new techniques, new technology. And my YouTube channel, I only started 5 years ago. And I'm 61 now. And for a 55-year-old man to start a YouTube channel you're too old.
Yeah, you think so.
But I learned everything myself. I learned the social media. I learned editing. I learned, how to go on these platforms. I learned all the logistics, the algorithms of how they work. So you can learn anything at any age. You just need to have the passion and the desire and the capability to make yourself better, and also be able to reflect on yourself as to what you're doing and whether it's working out or not, and how you can make it better.
How did you develop that personality trait of wanting to educate and teach people. You got 3 children who are very active, and then even on your YouTube channel, you very simply explain diet, and now you're doing the history, religion, politics channel. Simply explain something that is attainable to lots of people. How did you develop that passion of teaching, explaining, and talking?
Yeah, I think it's always been in me all the way along to try to disseminate knowledge and to, basically sort of let other learn what I find enjoyable. Doesn't I'm not always right. I don't pretend always to be right. I'm happy to for flexible opinions. I'm happy to change myself. I'm happy to reflect on other people's arguments and issues. But the basic desire is always to keep moving forward, keep learning new things, and I think that's always been the ethics of hard work were instilled in me by my father, who obviously was very keen for us to do good in our life. He was a hardworking man himself. So I learned, and then, when you get into medical school, you are generally competitive. When you become a surgeon, you're always competitive, as you know very well. So all that kind of gels together. But the underlying desire is always be to get better than what you are today and what you were yesterday.
Final question or final statement from you is, there'll be people listening, they've listened to the diet obesity advice, some they knew, some they didn't know. Some are people thinking today that I want to make a change. What advice do you have for people on, because you've constantly involved in your, now mashallah, in your 60s, and you're still looking to grow and develop. What advice do you give to someone listening today on how to make a change, just change their life basically?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to make some changes in your psychology. You need to look for the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 30 years, the next 40 years. Make a long-term plan. You need to see how you want to know. You need to know how you would look in your 70s and your 80s, and that's what you need to work toward. People are living longer. If you're living longer, you want to be healthy, you want to lead a healthy life. You don't want to depend on others. You don't want to depend on your children. You don't want to depend on anybody. You want to have a healthy lifestyle that will give you a good chance of being able to look after them. I mean, anything can happen to anybody. We have no control over how things will pan out. But at least we can put our utmost efforts in to keep ourselves healthier, not just physically, but mentally as well, by spending lots of time with our loved one, by socializing people we like, by discussing topics that excite us, and by getting ourselves involved into good constructive activities. So my first advice would be to change your psychological mindset, then start with a good diet plan where you are looking at reducing your carbohydrates, increasing your protein and your fiber intake, and and then take it from there on the lines that we discussed before.
Amazing. Mr. Sale, it's been fascinating talking to you. I've learned a lot today.
Thank you very much.
I think a lot of people take stuff away today, and we wish you the success in your channels that you've been doing, and continuing with the energy of being clear, explaining well, making it very relatable to lots of people. So inshallah, I wish all the best for your channel.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this interview, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to go on your podcast.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I would like to end with a quote from the American author Robert Collier. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Thank you for listening to the Second Opinion podcast. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed listening, and check out our other channels. See you next time.